Well, hey there, you guys. Welcome back to another week at the podcast. I am Janeen Alley, and you are listening to Becoming the CEO of Your Life today. So, today we are talking about nervous system regulation and why it's important. So, lately I've had a series of aha moments where I've realized that we need to learn how to connect our ability to build awareness to the nervous system. And a lot of this has to do with my own experience of being a meditation and a yoga teacher. But these two things have to go together. We have to learn how to build awareness somehow. And the way that I do that is by using the model. And then you also have to learn how to be able to access your nervous system. They have to go together. So there are three brief segments of the episode today that we're going to go through so that you can kind of understand why this is important. Even if you are not sure how to build awareness, learning how to regulate your nervous system is going to help you build awareness at the same time. But we're going to talk about what a regulated nervous system is, why this is so important, and how to do it. So if you're inside of my coaching program, I want you to just kind of breathe easy. But we are going to be going a lot deeper on this content for the month of November. So if you're inside of the Burnout Breakthrough, I am going to be doing a masterclass for you all about this, which I think is perfect timing right before the holidays, right before we typically have a more stressful time of year, which will, of course, give us all kinds of ways to practice this material. But even if you're catching this episode at another time during the year, you'll be able to have plenty of opportunities to practice because this is just the culture that we're immersed in. So, okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is what do I mean when I say having a regulated nervous system? So, one of the things that you may have heard me say before on the podcast is when you change your nervous system, you change your life experience. And this is how and why we do this. Oftentimes, my clients can be able to feel the difference immediately. Like if you've had a massage, you can tell the difference before you walked into the massage and afterwards. Or if you've had a great yoga practice, you can tell the difference between the before and the after. Sometimes I'll even pause my students at the end of class and I'm like, I just want you to take note on how you feel. This is what it means to have a regulated nervous system. I'll even point it out to them so they can start paying attention. What we can all relate to are symptoms of having a dysregulated nervous system. Oftentimes, the biggest clue for us is when our reactions don't match the circumstances that we're in. And this can be either a physical reaction or an emotional response to something. So, for example, if one of our kids spilled a smoothie on the carpet and we behave as if it's the end of the world, the way that we're responding to that circumstance doesn't match. Like, they spilled the smoothie. Okay, let's clean it up instead of oh my gosh, I can't believe you just spilled a smoothie on the floor. We've all had experiences like that, right? I think it's all relatable when my mom used to say, fly off the handle about something. But what we want to do is we want to get ourselves in a space of regulation so that the circumstances that we're experiencing match the emotional response that we have with them. Another way that we can feel if we're dysregulated is if our fight or flight response is on all the time. And this is hard to tell. But if we're edgy or if we get overwhelmed easily or we're anxious, these are clues that your fight or flight response is on all the time and you can't turn it off. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about what that is. Another way that I can tell if I'm dysregulated is I have a super difficult time focusing on things. I get really easily distracted, particularly with my phone. I struggle to get projects either started or finished because of the distraction. I have difficulty sleeping at night. Either I have a hard time falling asleep or sometimes I'm up at 2:30 in the morning. I know some people experience chronic pain and illness with this. And when we're talking to ourselves, we say things like, I have to get this done, or I'm so busy. I had another woman say to me, I'm just slammed right now. That is an indication that your nervous system is dysregulated. When you're in this space of dysregulation, it's really difficult for us to keep our word to ourselves and follow through on our plans because we're constantly getting distracted. And like I said, we're feeling like we're reacting to our lives. Okay, now I just kind of want to contrast that whole thing with having a regulated nervous system. So when you're regulated, it's easy for you to rest and relax. It's easy for you to think clearly or to be calm. It's easy to stay focused. You feel like you're grounded, you're peaceful, you sleep well most of the time, and you're patient with people. I know for myself, when I have a regulated nervous system, it's much easier for me to work in a steady state. The hard thing for most people is they don't realize that they're in this space of dysregulation because it feels normal to them. When I used to teach plant-based nutrition classes a long time ago, when people would remove dairy out of their diets, it was really common for them to say things to me like, oh my gosh, I had no idea how much my body didn't like that until it was removed out of my diet. You may have had a similar experience removing gluten or even red meat or something out of your diet. It's just more difficult for your body to digest. And once it's gone, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that digestion didn't feel like cramping and bloating and gassy and all of those other things that we experience when we're digesting something that our body doesn't want. One of my students who was just at my wellness retreat said this to me after she came home. She said, I was sitting in church on Sunday and I noticed I just felt different. I actually felt regulated inside my body, not just reverent and sitting nicely like usual, but actually felt calm inside my mind and body. I don't remember the last time I felt that way. It's probably been over 10 years or more. I had gotten so used to survival mode, I had forgotten what regulated actually felt like. I can totally see how this is something that will have a long-lasting positive change in my life, and I will be forever grateful. So I just wanted to just highlight that because you can see a really clear before and after. And like I said, most people don't realize, like, somebody had told me you've got a dysregulated nervous system, I would have been like, I don't even know what you're talking about, even though I have a background in the body and how it works because of my background teaching anatomy and being a personal trainer. And like I said, my background in nutrition and all of it. So if somebody came up to me and said, you have a dysregulated nervous system, I would have been like, you're outside of your mind. So I just want to encourage you to stay open to this material today and see if you can just try regulating your nervous system from some of the things that I'm sharing with you today, and just notice the before and after effect that it has on your body. One of my restorative yoga students just a month ago spent an hour in class with me and then sent me this text. Wow, you were so right about feeling grounded. I haven't felt this much energy and clarity in a long time. I seriously wasn't buying it at first. I'm so glad I signed up to work with you. So I just want to say, if you're a little skeptical right now, I just want you to try something. I also want to point out here that there is a huge difference between regulation of the nervous system and relaxation. Most people think that they can relax in order to get into a regulated state. But the opposite is actually true. You have to regulate your nervous system in order to relax, because a regulated nervous system has everything to do with feeling safe. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in just a second. So the reason why this matters is the regulation happens in a branch of the nervous system called your autonomic nervous system. And like I just mentioned, I used to teach anatomy at BYU as a teaching assistant. I taught both in the lecture and in the lab, actually, with the cadavers. But I really loved teaching the lecture portion of the class, and I taught anatomy for a couple of years when I was a student there. And this all kind of takes me back to that. But this branch of your nervous system, you have multiple branches of what the nervous system actually does. But the branch that we're focusing on today is the autonomic nervous system, because the responses that you have happen automatically. So there's two branches of the autonomic nervous system. Maybe you haven't heard them before, but I know that you can keep up with me. So just, like I said, stay open, and it'll start to make sense, I think, fairly quickly. So the two branches of the autonomic nervous system are your sympathetic nervous system, which is in charge of that fight, flight, or freeze. If someone jumps out and scares you, you have a sympathetic nervous system response to that, where your eyes dilate, your heart rate increases because you're ready to run. The other branch of the autonomic nervous system is the parasympathetic nervous system. This is activated when you're resting, when you're asleep, or when you're digesting your food. And again, this is helping you kind of get into that sleepy state. So after you eat lunch and you want to take a nap, it's because your parasympathetic nervous system is activated. This is also why, I just want to point this out here. This is also why people get a little gassy in yoga class, actually. So over the years that I've taught, and I hope this isn't too much information, you can just skip ahead if you don't want to hear this, but over the years that I've taught, after Shavasana, or after people are relaxing on their backs at the end of class, and I'm moving them out of Shavasana, I'll always have them spend a little time on their side. But the students who want to throw their legs to sit up to a seated position on their mat, sometimes they toot really loud in class and they get super embarrassed. But the reason why is because when you're in that relaxed state, your body starts digesting whatever is inside of your GI tract. And so things are moving along. And so when you squeeze that area of your body, of course, things can get loud sometimes. And people get really embarrassed when that happens. It happens a lot actually in class. So if that's happened to you, don't worry, come back to class. But one of the ways that you can bypass that is to roll over on your side and use your hands to push you up all the way in class. So that's just a little, you can put a pin in that for later. Okay, but this is all normal, right? So which state you're in is not a choice that you have because your nervous system is meant to react like this. It has kept us alive for centuries, actually, to be able to fight the bear or flee the scene or whatever, or it's able to help us to reproduce. That's what happens when you're in that parasympathetic state is now you're looking around for a partner, you're able to connect. If you're stressed, you're not looking to be intimate with somebody, right? So today on the podcast, I really want you to just focus on this fight or freeze response because culturally we get stuck here. Here's one of the key elements to this. When we get stressed out, the body can't differentiate between real danger when we're actually being chased by a bear or by somebody and perceived danger because it's all the same to your nervous system. So when we get into these stressful spaces, when we have a lot of things going on, when we lose our keys, when you're late, when your kid spills something on the carpet, you get an unexpected email that makes your heart rate increase, or you get charged twice on your credit card bill, or you forgot to pay a bill, or you're being audited by the IRS. There's a lot of things that happen that kind of come at us all at once. It's kind of a boom, 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 boom response. And when we're in this sympathetic state, there are certain hormones that are released that the body has now marching orders to follow. Like I said, heart rate increases, eyes dilate, you're ready to run, right? So when you're dysregulated like this, when the sympathetic nervous system is on, even if it's slightly on, and one of the ways that I know that I'm here is I just feel kind of buzzy all the time, like I'm really edgy and I'm just anxious. Doing a model or becoming aware of your thoughts in this space and being intentional, like I talk about a lot on the podcast, isn't available to you. So getting yourself to focus on something like what your primitive brain is actually doing is really hard because you're surviving at that moment. So in order for us to be intentional and to have a regulated nervous system, your body and your mind has one priority, and that is to feel safe. And there are actually some really important benefits that we can get from having a regulated nervous system, besides just feeling better, right? The biggest reason is to reduce the amount of stress that we're experiencing in our life, and we're really able to relax. Too many of you are working so hard but you don't love your life. And there isn't a problem with working really hard. You just want to have that balance of working hard and then taking your foot off the gas. I've talked so many times on the podcast about slowing yourself down. And this is why, because it allows your sympathetic nervous system to take a break for a minute. It is, like I said, the culture that we live in, it's really easy for that sympathetic nervous system to be activated all the time because things are coming at us pretty fast. But the problem is you don't love your life, you don't love how you feel, and you feel like you should love your life, right? You tell yourself things like, but I should be grateful. But if you checked in with yourself, you're miserable. And this is why, is because of this heightened stress response that you're living in all the time. So the key really is when you're able to turn that sympathetic nervous system off, now you're able to relax and enjoy the beautiful life that you're working so hard to create. So many women come to me and they're like, I just want to be present with my kids, or I just want to enjoy the moment. Or the circumstances that you're living in actually don't have to change. You just want to focus on regulating your nervous system. So this is an analogy that I've been thinking about based off of another conversation that I had about another thing, but I'm like, this is applicable to this as well. So your nervous system is very similar to a delicate French silk blouse. What we want to do with our nervous systems or our delicate French silk blouses is we want to be able to throw them in the washing machine with the towels and all the other clothes that are in there. We want to use the same detergent. We want to put it on the spin cycle. We want to throw it in the dryer, and we want it to still be able to look beautiful. And some of you are like, well, this is why I don't buy silk blouses. And I totally get it because I don't either. But the thing is you don't have an option with your nervous system. The way that most of us live is, first of all, we're not even aware of our nervous system. And then we feel like it's such a pain in the butt to take care of it. But when you take care of your nervous system, you actually end up reaping so many rewards for it. You want to be thinking about how you're just taking that French silk blouse and tossing it into the washing machine and hoping that it ends up okay at the end of the dryer cycle. And it doesn't work like that. You want to be able to take really good care of your nervous system. You want to be aware of what it needs, and you want to be able to act accordingly. Okay, the second reason why we want a regulated nervous system is because it helps to boost emotional resilience. So I've mentioned when you're dysregulated that your emotions don't match the circumstances, right? When I was a kid, my mom said, you just fly off the handle about something. We have so many phrases that kind of describe this way that we just get stressed and don't behave the way that we want to, right? We lose our keys and we lose our ever loving mind. Right? We're just like yelling and crazy. Or you get into a car accident and you can't be civil with other people who are there. Right? This is life. You don't want to go through life feeling out of control with your emotions or have your loved ones tiptoeing around on eggshells around you because you might have a crazy response about something small. I know for myself that doing the work to take care of my nervous system, even though I wasn't aware that that's what I was doing, like I have over the last several years, but doing the work to soothe my nervous system and to take better care of myself has paid off tremendously in ways that I didn't even think could happen actually when I first started. So when I have little kids, I would just yell about little things. And I know little kids are so hard in so many ways. So if you're in the thick of that right now, I want you to offer yourself tons of grace. But there are ways that you can help you to show up more intentionally in the way that you are parenting with them. But I remember one night in particular, Thomas was having a hard time staying in bed. And I was ready for bed. It was like 8:30 at night and I needed to go to bed probably, but he wouldn't stay in bed. And I just started yelling and behaving like a crazy lady. And finally, when I was like realizing what I was doing, because my husband came over and was like, come away from the bottom of the stairs. I just hated myself in that moment. I just had so much shame and I just was experiencing so much self-loathing because I wasn't able to show up the way that I wanted to in that moment. And I didn't have any helpful tools to help myself in that moment. I just knew that I needed to change, but I didn't know what I needed to do. So if you can relate to that, these are the things that I'm telling you and teaching you right now that you can do to help yourself to show up in a more calm and patient way. And it paid off because about 10 years later, maybe not even that, maybe 7 or 8 years later, Thomas was in high school and he was taking a psychology class. And he was able to see like the before and after version of the work that I had done. He's like, yeah, Mom, he was learning about the 4 different styles of parenting. And he's like, Mom, you used to be this authoritarian kind of parent, like this dictatorial parent where it was your way or the highway. And there was no negotiations and there was no conversations in the way that you used to be. And he's like, now you're more of authoritative where you're nurturing and there's rules and regulations, but you're supportive and you're a good listener and you have firm boundaries for us. And that was such a payday for me because I realized it goes so much more beyond just feeling good. It has an effect on your relationships. And that's kind of the next point that I want to make here is it does affect relationships, not just because you're not yelling anymore, but also because you're a better communicator when your nervous system is regulated. I know I'm able to pause in conversations with my husband or with my kids. And I'm like, hey, I just need a second to kind of think this through so that I'm not in that, like I said, that reactive space. And sometimes it takes me a couple minutes to be like, I'm just still processing, still thinking about how I want this to be. And I know if I can't get there, I need to take a break and come back to it. I'll just take a walk around the block, or maybe I'll sleep on it for a minute and then come back to the conversation. But you're able to be more grounded in yourself. And you're able to show up authentically as you. And I know when my kids were little, that was something that I just so desperately wanted. I felt like my kids don't even know me because I'm behaving in this way and it's not even me. That was the thing that was just so frustrating with it. Okay, another benefit is improved cognitive function. So I've mentioned this a little bit, but I'm going to go into a little bit more. Like I said, when your nervous system is regulated, you're able to think clearly, you're able to start and finish projects, you're able to follow through on your plan. And I know that as a productivity coach, I'm all about having a plan and teaching people how to follow through, but legitimately, you cannot follow through if your nervous system isn't soothed and settled. You're not scatterbrained, but you're present. You're present with what it is that you're doing. You're not thinking a million miles ahead. You're not worrying about things in the past, but you're able to think clearly and you're able to make decisions from your highest self from that space. The last thing that I'm going to touch on here, this is the last benefit I'm going to mention today on the podcast, but there's so many. But it's improved physical health is another benefit that you get from having a regulated nervous system. So not only can you consistently eat well and get to the gym on time and take care of yourself that way, but there is a huge link between chronic stress and physical ailments. I'm sure none of the things that are on this list are going to surprise you. You have muscle tension when you're stressed. You have digestive problems when you're stressed out, right? You can feel it in your gut. You get constipated really easily and you have problems digesting and get bloated and stuff all the time. You got headaches. Your weight fluctuates, either high or low. You have trouble sleeping. People are more susceptible to things like heart disease and cancer and stroke and high blood pressure because of the stress that we're feeling. So if we can attack the stress and manage the stress and regulate the nervous system, it's amazing this ripple effect that it will have in so many other areas of your life. So how do we regulate our nervous system? So the things that I'm going to share with you are things that I do in my life. And I know immediately you're going to think to yourself, I just don't have time for this. So this is where this beautiful dance has to happen between making a plan and following through on the plan to regulate your nervous system so that you can consistently show up for the other things in your life and continue to go back and forth between this. If you just try to white knuckle your way through your plan in life, which I know so many of you do. We do this by making lists and, testing out the latest calendaring system that pops up on our Instagram feed. There's so many ways that we do this, but if you are trying to implement a program or a process without having a regulated nervous system, it's never going to be able to stick long-term. So even with regulating my nervous system, and this took me a long time to figure out because I resisted this. I am not somebody who likes to just sit around. I've talked about this on the podcast before. I like to get stuff done. And I know that you do too, but we still need to have a plan to regulate your nervous system. And we need to be able to follow through on that plan. And I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to want to. This is tricky because when you're dysregulated, the last thing that you want to do is sit down and be still. You don't want to sit down and just focus and settle your mind and think about your breath because you're telling yourself, I've got so much to do. I don't have time for this. But my mentor and massage therapist, Karen, which I've mentioned before on the podcast, some of you know her. If you've been over in my neck of the woods for a wellness retreat or something, you guys all know Karen. But on a regular day, she says you need to meditate for 30 minutes. And on a busy day, it needs to be 60. And at first I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, that seems so counterintuitive to me until I did it. And then I'm like, oh, now I know what you're talking about. But it's not necessarily the 60 and the 30 minutes that I want you focusing on. It's actually kind of doubling down on the process to help your nervous system. So you can forget the numbers. I want you to just carry that principle forward, though. You really need to be spending extra time. And for me, there are things that I'm doing a little extra right now because it is October and this is the time of year where I start to notice that the winter blues start to settle in a little bit. So I need to really be taking better care of myself and being intentional about that, sometimes increasing the amount of time that I'm taking in my little hot box, meditating and all the things, because I know that that is good for me. So I work out every day for at least 30 minutes. I'm making sure that I'm hydrating in this time of year. I love Creo brew and I love herbal teas and those kinds of things that are hot. I sit in my sauna for at least 30 minutes every single day, meditating. And I have had to be a little bit stricter with myself because I've noticed that my anxiety is more intense right now, where I'm saying no podcasts, no books. It's just focusing on the breath. So focusing in on the breath is key in this. It is the most direct and fastest way that we can access the nervous system. And as a Christian, one of the things that I just kind of love thinking about that Karen just recently shared with me is Christ said, I am the breath of life. The breath, like I said, is the fastest way to access peace, to help us physically feel better, to help us emotionally feel better, is through that. And so it's just one of the ways that I can kind of put my spiritual practices into physical practices in my life. and to get the immediate benefits of that. Now, if you're not a Christian, that's okay. You don't have to latch onto that. I just thought that was really interesting for myself. Okay, so I'm just going to touch a little bit more on the meditation piece. Like I said, you're not going to want to do this. You're not going to want to sit there and do it, but do it anyway. If you need help with how to do this or what to do or whatever, reach out to me. I'm going to share ways that you can connect with me at the end of the podcast. Like I just mentioned, the second strategy is deep breathing techniques. I'm going to teach you one right now, but there's a lot of ways that we can do this. The one that I'm going to teach you today is called the physiological sigh. Have you ever watched little children cry? They kind of do a, at the end of when they're crying. I hope you can hear that through the mic, but they kind of do this quick little uptake where there's a series of inhales pretty fast. So it's, okay, that is the physiological sigh. And you can actually just do 2 or 3 of those right now, and you can notice immediately how much better you feel at the end of that. Okay, that's just one. There's many. Okay, my third strategy that I do often is yoga and physical activity. Like I said, I lift weights, I throw heavy things around. It helps me feel better. And I also do yoga regularly. When I started doing yoga, it was for the flexibility benefits of the practice, because I had some pretty long triathlon training days. So I was doing the same repetitive movement with running and biking and things like that. And I thought, I'll just incorporate some yoga because I was noticing I was getting pretty tight. Well, I felt amazing after these practices. And so I'm like, what is actually going on here? Like, I don't feel this good doing anything else. There's more to this than just the flexibility piece of things. And that is why I was interested in getting certified, is because I wanted to know more. Like, why do I feel this way after this practice, or I feel energized after this practice? So if you're looking to regulate your nervous system, you want to be looking for practices that include either forward fold movements or twists with the spine. So the energetic outcome of the practice has everything to do with the spinal position. And so if you're incorporating lots of forward folds and twist movements in your flow, you're going to feel that grounded effect after your class. Another thing to look for is to just start doing evening practices any time of the day. Evening flows are designed to help you sleep well, and it's designed to help take care of your nervous system at the end of the day. But you can do these at any time if you're feeling anxious and kind of spacey, and you're feeling all over the place and irritable. So those are 2 directions that you can take as far as how to do yoga to get the energetic outcome you want. Okay, 2 more things. Nutrition and hydration. Poor diet and being dehydrated is a stressor for the body. So like I said, your body doesn't know or care necessarily where the stress is coming from. It's just stressed. And so when you eat a donut or you eat a bag of Doritos, that's stressful for your body because you're giving it essentially information that it doesn't know what to do with. It's not useful for your body. And so it's got to figure out how to get rid of it because it can't use it. If we're doing this all the time, if we're eating a poor diet regularly, you're going to feel the effects of that as far as having a dysregulated nervous system. So clean up your diet. Nourishing foods is going to help you reduce stress for sure. And then also staying hydrated. Okay, the last little tip here that I have is, of course, seeking professional help. Now, this can be with a coach. And if this is your experience, you want to seek out someone who understands nervous system regulation, as well as helping you to accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish. So I'm a productivity coach. I help my clients get things done. One of the tools that I use in doing that is helping them to learn how to regulate their nervous system. You can also go to a breathwork workshop. I know in Denver, I'm getting advertisements for these all the time. You can get certified as a yoga teacher. There's a lot of different ways that you can seek professional help outside of the traditional therapy and coaching realm. Okay, that is it. That's really all I have for you guys today. I hope this was really eye-opening in how you can take better care of your nervous system. It really is so crucial in being able to live from your highest self. The solution, again, is not relaxation, it's regulation, because you have to be able to create that space of safety first. I hope that the big takeaway for you from this episode is how much your nervous system matters. We have to learn how to befriend our nervous system. We have to befriend that silky French blouse. We have to take really good care of it so that we're able to show up more authentically as ourselves. It's the way that we access our intentions in the moment instead of being reactive. We want to get you out of that fight or flight response so that you can really enjoy the life that I know you're working so hard to create right now. Okay, that is it. Like I said, thank you so much for tuning in today. If this episode was helpful for you, I would love it if you subscribed, if you sent me a review, or if you shared the podcast with some friends. And if you have questions about this episode or how to actually implement some of the things that I'm teaching on the podcast, not just in this episode, but all the episodes, go ahead and reach out to me at janeenalley.com/breakthrough. I will put that inside of the show notes today, or you can send me a direct message on Instagram. I will get back with you over there. All right, my friends, have a beautiful rest of your week. We will catch you guys soon. Take care. See ya. Bye.